Good morning, everyone. I'm Melissa Garlick, Associate Vice President and leader of CJP's Center for Combating Antisemitism. As hopefully many of you know, CJP launched our Center for Combating Antisemitism in the wake of October 7th, but in response to years of increasing Jew hatred across the globe. Our work focuses on making anti-Semitism socially and politically unacceptable in Greater Boston, with a focus on schools, college campuses, and workplaces. And this work is underpinned by celebrating and lifting up Jewish voices of strength and joy. Today, we have the honor of hearing from one of these incredible voices in conversation with CJP's own Eliza Canner, a major gifts officer here who is in her own right dedicated to speaking up and out about anti-Semitism and encouraging others to do the same. I am so excited to introduce Montana. Montana is an award-winning singer, dancer, actress, and social media powerhouse with millions of loyal followers across platforms. Beyond her entertainment career, Montana has become a leading voice against anti-Semitism through her groundbreaking Holocaust education series, How to Never Forget, honoring her family's legacy, and was nominated for a Webby Award. Montana had the honor of emceeing the 75th anniversary of Israel reception and was also invited by the National Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. to attend as a VIP guest at the Capitol building to honor Holocaust survivors and the liberators of the Holocaust. She most recently headlined the March for Israel rally in Washington, D.C., and was the guest speaker for the National Menorah lighting in Washington this past Hanukkah. In March of 2024, just a few weeks ago, last year, I'm sorry, and just a few weeks ago too, Montana was a guest speaker at ADL's Never Is Now, the world's largest summit on anti-Semitism and hate. Her advocacy work has reached millions globally, establishing her as a passionate champion for Jewish pride in education. At CJP, we strive to be a place you turn to for dynamic, relevant, and timely content. We look forward to continue bringing you speakers and conversations that help us wrestle with the most important issues of our time. Which brings us to today's conversation. I'm thrilled to turn the screen over to my colleague, Eliza. Over to you, Eliza.
Thank you, Melissa. And thank you to everyone who joined us this morning. And welcome, Montana. It's so great to see you. Joining bright and early. She's on the West Coast this morning. So we're so glad that you woke up early to join your
I'm
Boston.
ready to go.
Amazing. So before we dive in, I want to take a moment to frame today's conversation. We all know that anti-Semitism is spreading at an alarming rate online, and social media can often feel like an overwhelming space. While these challenges are real, it's important to remember that we have power. Whether you're Montana Tucker with millions of followers or you've never downloaded TikTok on your phone, your voice matters. Every conversation in the digital space and in real life plays a role in shaping narratives. So today's conversation, it's not about going viral. It's about making an impact, standing for our Jewish community and for Israel, and ensuring that our Jewish pride cuts through the noise. So with that, Montana, let's dive in. I'd love to start by asking, I have the privilege of knowing you personally, but I would love to have the audience get to know you a little bit better and learn, how did you become Montana Tucker? So can you share three main stops along your journey that really made you who you are today?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you and thank everyone for waking up and joining us in this conversation. Yes, I am in California right now, so it's 5:30 a.m. But I'm so excited to be here with you all. My journey is I feel like a really interesting one. I grew up in Boca Raton, Florida, a predominantly Jewish area. And being Jewish was always a part of my identity and who I am, who I was and who I am and who I will always be. My grandparents are Holocaust survivors, and I was extremely close to them and still am. Unfortunately, my Zadie passed away 5 years ago at age 97, and my grandma Lily is still alive today at age 96, but unfortunately is suffering Alzheimer's disease of over 15 years. But growing up, I always heard their stories my whole life about the Holocaust. And both of them would speak to all the schools down in South Florida, where I'm from. And my Zadie specifically would wear pins every day that said, never forget, Never Again, and Survivor. And he would talk to anyone who would meet about the Holocaust and about his experience in the Holocaust to make sure that Never Forget, Never Again really was real. And so I grew up with that mentality my whole life. And when my Zadie passed away at 97, I rewatched the Shoah Foundation testimonies from both my grandparents. And even though I heard these stories my whole life, and even though I saw the testimonies as a child, rewatching them as an adult, I felt it differently. And of course, after my Zadie passed, I felt it differently. And I knew I had to do something with these stories. You know, I grew my social media. I'm really grateful to have a combined following of 14 million, over 14 million followers across platforms. And I grew my following on dancing, on singing, on acting. And when I thought that I needed to do something with my grandparents' stories, originally my mom and I were just going to go to Poland, visit Auschwitz, where my grandma's a survivor of, and we were just going to visit on our own. But then we said, hey, I have the opportunity to educate millions of people, especially Gen Z, because that was predominantly my following, that don't even know about the Holocaust. To every single person on the Zoom, I'm sure we all know everything about the Holocaust. But you'd be shocked that how many people around the world genuinely don't know about the Holocaust. And especially our younger generation, because now it's not required in the school systems in every state. We know that in the US, but my following is all around the world. So we ended up making this docuseries, like you stated, called How to Never Forget. And that really took off in a way I never really expected. And it really did educate millions of people. If you look through the comments, they're from non-Jews or people who didn't know about the Holocaust, and it made a big impact. And that was the first time I kind of introduced my followers to me being Jewish. I started using my platform to combat anti-Semitism and all forms of hate after that. And then, of course, October 7th happened. And, you know, something just took over me. I say this a lot, that I don't know if it's generational trauma or what exactly it was or is or continues to be, that I feel like I truly have this duty of responsibility, and I have to do everything I can. So if that's me posting on social media every single day and using my voice every single day and making sure at all times I'm wearing my Magen Davids, as you see, it's all over me at all times to make sure, I knew I had to do it. And that's what I'm continuing to do every day.
Your grandparents must be so proud of you for
Oh,
using your
thank you.
voice and your
You know, my mom
platform.
always says my baby lives inside of me, and I believe
Yes.
that for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're proud of you as well. And
Thank
I would
you.
love to dive in. You said specifically that October 7th happened and it just changed so
Yeah.
much for you. So can you share with us how your Jewish identity evolved since October 7th, both online, but also just as an individual?
Absolutely. I think I've never been more proud to be Jewish since October 7th. I think some people went one way or another, right? Some people started hiding their Jewish identity, which is such a shame, and so sad to me, because some people are just scared and they're hiding it because they don't want people to know they're Jewish, which is so sad. For me, I've truly have never wanted to be louder that I'm Jewish. And I think for me also, people always ask me, like, have you ever experienced anti-Semitism? And growing up, you know, I grew up in Boca, so I grew up with a predominantly Jewish area. So I didn't really experience anti-Semitism growing up, you know, as much. But nowadays, my name is Montana Tucker. And everyone says, that's a Montana Tucker. That name isn't Jewish. You can't be Jewish with a name like that. I find that to be anti-Semitic, because being Jewish sounds so many different ways, looks so many different ways. And then they say, you look like that and you're Jewish? Like, what does that mean? Jews look like so many different things. They're black, they're white, they're Hispanic, they're everything. And so that's why I think, again, why I make sure at all times I'm wearing something to let people know that I'm Jewish. So there's no question of who I am, what I stand for. And for me, I try to do it in unique ways as well. I think even with my content in general, that's why if you look through my page, I kind of have, it's all over the place with my content, but I'm really always trying to attract a different audience at all times, because we want everyone. We want everyone to see what I'm posting and relate to it in some ways. As we know, everyone relates to things differently. And so if I can show off my Jewish identity through my fashion, or, you know, through a social media post or through a song that I'm creating, I make sure that I do it.
I'm smiling because before we started the call, we were saying we want this to feel like a FaceTime call between friends that
Yeah.
people are just watching. And when you said, the worst thing that someone can say is that you don't look Jewish. That's the worst thing someone can ever say to me when I wear my Jewish pride on my sleeve, on my heart. You know, understanding that that is anti-Semitic by saying you don't look Jewish or you don't have a Jewish background or whatever someone might say to put you in a category. We need to ensure that our Jewish pride is showing in every single thing that we do, both in real life but also in the digital space. So
100%. And listen, I understand people's fear right now. I really understand that, but I just think back to my grandparents, and I think back to the days of the Holocaust when you were forced to wear a Magen David as a sign of like of being deemed worthless and
mhm.
being deemed as like scum of the earth at the time. So us wearing our Jewish pride now is such an honor and such a privilege that we are able to and that we choose to. We're not being forced to wear this. We are choosing to do this. I think it's such a beautiful thing. And that's why I think everyone, and you know what? You know what's been so special? And I don't know if you've experienced this or anyone on the call has experienced this. I've had so many of my friends who are allies wearing Magen Davids now. I just got the chills even thinking about
Wow.
it. It's like so special. I've had so many people ask me like, hey, do you have like any recommendations of places I can buy a Jewish jar? I want to support you and I want to wear one. I'm like, what? Like, it's
Amazing.
so amazing to me. And I really have a lot of friends and, people that I know that have now also worn their Magen Davids as a show to show their solidarity and with us, which I think is really special.
That's amazing. And here in Greater Boston, we have so many allies that wear our Stand Up to Jewish Hate pin.
Yes, we
So
need
that's
more. We need
another great
more.
way, yes, to show your allyship and your support of the Jewish community. With that, with showing support of the Jewish community and showing your Judaism, obviously and unfortunately, it creates a target sometimes online for people to show up and give you online hate. So we have over 200 community members that joined us for this conversation today. And unfortunately, I'd have to guess that many of them have either seen or witnessed themselves online hate and anti-Semitism online. So share with us, have you experienced any online hate yourself and how do you navigate this?
Oh no, I've never experienced any hate whatsoever. Oh my gosh. Well, we're all in this together, first of all. I wish I could see all of your faces on here, but we are really all in this together. I promise you that. Um, you know, being a social media creator for the time that I've been a creator, I've always experienced hate in some way. Someone will comment on my weight. Oh, you're too fat, or now you're too skinny, or oh, you can't dance, or oh, you can't sing, or I mean, people are just the trolls online are always there, right? That just exists. But the hate that you get for simply being Jewish or simply supporting Israel is something that I don't think anyone can understand unless they are experiencing it, right? Because everyone's like, "Oh, I've gotten hate from this or that," or every celebrity, right? You look on their social media that are not celebrities that are not Jewish, just that posted a new movie or something. This sucks. They can't act. They're always getting hate, right? But for me specifically, when I did my Holocaust series, I got some hate then, right? Of saying,
Mhm.
oh, your grandparents should have died. We're not going to stop until you die. The Holocaust never happened. All the Holocaust deniers. But that
Right.
was like this percentage.
Mhm.
Now, when I started posting about Israel, I lost hundreds of thousands of followers, not tens, not hundreds, hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok specifically. TikTok was way
Mhm.
worse, and on
Yeah.
Instagram every day still, and this is now October 6th for over a year and a half now. Every single day I get death threats. It's just a fact, unfortunately. Of course, in the beginning, it was really shocking. I couldn't believe it. It was upsetting. Most of them are bots. So I don't know if any of you on this call know about the bots, but a lot of them are bots and they're not real people. And I can't even say the other side. I want to just say Hamas because they're the reason for everything. They somehow have these like systems and bots that just go and attack anyone. That's why like the second you post about Israel, you will like automatically get these messages. And I think a lot of people, because I know they're scary, and if you don't know, you're like, it's scary, but we have to know that a lot of them are bots and they're not real people. Now, are there real people on there? Yes, absolutely. And I think always you should report immediately. I mean, I can't sift through all of them, but I always will report, restrict as much as I can. I don't know if a lot of you know this, but you can block certain words from your social
Yeah.
media. So if someone tries to comment genocide or a certain word on my page that, you know, they love to comment, I have it blocked. So they can't comment that on my page. So I think that's something really important for all of you on here or for your kids, to make sure you have those types of controls on there where you can block. You just put in a bunch of words. Like I have hundreds of words in there that you can put in. So that way, if like a troll or a bot is trying to comment on it, you know, make sure you do that. And then last thing I would say is I never respond to a negative comment. And that's what I would tell you and tell any of your kids is you never respond to a negative comment. You think about bullies, right? In when we all grew up in middle school or high school, right? Or our parents used to tell us, you don't give in to the bullies. That's what they want. They want the attention. They're doing this to try to get a rise out of you. And I think the more you continue to post and you continue to educate and you continue to share, that's how you get back to them, not by responding, because it's never going to go anywhere. You know, it's interesting because I'll have like my followers sometimes going back and forth in the comments and, you know, about me and stuff like that. And of course, I'm always grateful for anyone who's sticking up for me, but I just never respond to a negative comment. I think that's the best
Mhm.
way, just to keep educating and to keep posting.
I always notice that you keep such a positive and bright light, even amidst the hate. And I love the tip of making sure that parents add those words. So whether they're real accounts or bots, that those filters are on their children's social media accounts, so they don't even have to see those comments appear. And you know, as CJP Center for Combating Anti-Semitism builds out our community security initiative, we are a resource. So if there's ever an instance where you are unsure if a comment or a series of comments or DMs are from a bot or from, you know, unfortunately, a real user on social media, please reach out to us. I actually had a similar instance, Montana, where I didn't know if a series of threats, death threats that were coming in were bots or if they were imminent threats, and our team was able to detect what type of users they were coming from. And so being able to both have those protocols and filters on your social media, but then also ensuring that you know what resources are out there in your community, to ensure your safety and security.
And listen, you always want to be safe. It's better to be safe than sorry, of course, and always take all the precautions. But I think that is something that a lot of people, like if you're not in this space, they don't really know about the bots. And so they just
Mm-hmm.
really believe that every single message is a real
So
person.
real. Mm-hmm.
And it's scary, of course. So
And so you noted that hundreds of thousands of followers decided to leave your page, but I want to hear from you of what type of content are you consuming? And did you notice that you were having a shift of the accounts and the people that you were following yourself?
well, I personally just started following so many new people. Um, you know, it was interesting. Like I had obviously hundreds of thousands of people, but I also had a lot of people that I like danced with and people that
Mm-hmm.
I admired and I danced with for years that told me they won't collaborate with me anymore or they won't dance with
Right.
me anymore because of my support for Israel, which is insane to me, obviously. But I just personally, and I think that's also something important to tell everyone, like make sure your kids are following people. Like obviously you can't force them to follow anyone, but make sure they're following people that are aligned with what they believe in and what we all believe in, because that's so important. And what we consume every day, it affects us 100%. And that's why it's so important to follow people on your page that you want to like learn from them and you want to like follow them. Like, I make sure every day that I'm posting something about Israel, about the hostages. Like I make sure even if I post a dance video that day, I'm still posting something about this conflict. And I really feel like I follow such incredible people that are giving me information or educating me. Listen, I am not a historian by any means. I am not, I every day am still learning about this conflict, about what is going on. That's why I've been to Israel in the past year 5 times, because I want to make sure I'm there on the ground so that way, whatever I'm sharing, it's accurate information. I'm sharing real personal stories. And so I think really like what we consume online, like, you know, I'm on my, I don't know about you, but I am on my phone so much throughout the day. And especially on social media, because it's part of my job to be on social media, it can get to you 100%. It can
Mhm.
get to you. And I think also for me too, like throughout all the really depressing news that is out there, we can't deny that there's depressing news. I also try to bring the light. And in the beginning, I did have a hard time of combining my worlds, right? Like I had my dancing, my singing, my acting, and then I had my activism. And I felt so weird like posting a dance video with everything going on in our world. But then I would have people message me saying, you know what? I'm so depressed and social media is so depressing, everything you scroll past. And then I came across your dance video.
Yeah.
And that made me smile for a minute out of the day. So I think it's important, like what we consume on our social media is crazy and important. And unfortunately and fortunately, apps like TikTok doesn't necessarily matter as much who you follow because of the For You page. You're kind of getting all different kinds of videos, but they learn from you. So they learn what you like and what you look up and what you favorite and what you like. So try to just keep liking positive videos or content creators that you want to associate with and you want to see.
I love that you mentioned going to Israel and being able to show those firsthand accounts. How are you, beyond just your firsthand accounts and knowing who's posting firsthand accounts, how are you ensuring that the media that you consume, and how can our audience today make sure that they are able to separate fact from fiction? Obviously, the rampant misinformation that is available online. How do we make sure that what we're seeing online, we're able to dissect what is true from what is false?
Well, basically, don't listen to anything Al Jazeera posts or says. That would be first and foremost. I think everyone on here already knows that. It's crazy the amount of propaganda that is out there. And it's hard. And then with AI and all these things right now,
Mhm.
it really is so hard. So I do understand why it's so hard. And also, that's why I empathize with our younger generation that doesn't really know anything, but gets their information from TikTok because they don't know anything about this conflict, right? And they come across a video from some young girl in her bedroom talking about how Israel's performing a genocide and Israel is this and Israel is that. And TikTok is promoting, it's just a fact. They're promoting pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas content, and they're suppressing pro-Israel content. That is just a fact across boards. Like, I don't know if you, Eliza, if you post on there at all,
Yes.
but
Mhm.
it's just a fact. So
Yes.
kids who don't know anything, everyone, the younger generation, all they care about is being popular and being viral. Like that's this big thing, going viral in the younger generation. And unfortunately, these videos that criticize Israel or are anti-Semitic go viral on TikTok. So they assume that's right. They want to be popular. They want to be trending. So then they're now going to create their own video about this topic, talking about how Israel's committing a genocide and whatever else. I mean, this has nothing to do with October 7th and about this specific subject, but Osama bin Laden was a trending topic on
That's
TikTok
right.
where
Mhm.
kids were reading this letter Osama bin Laden wrote, and they were saying like, "Oh, Osama bin Laden wasn't that bad. Like,
Right.
actually
Hmm.
had some
There was
points."
justification for
It's
9/11. Yeah.
crazy. Or you see
Hmm.
what happened with Kanye that I
Hmm.
think over 10,000 people bought his not swastika t-shirt. Like, who are these 10,000 people that are buying this swastika t-shirt? But they don't like, yes, I'm sure a lot of them are actually anti-Semitic, but I think also a lot of them just are Kanye fans and want his latest Yeezy drop. And they like literally don't understand how like detrimental and terrible this is. Um, and so it is very hard, but that's why I said it's really important who we follow and who our kids follow. And, you know, I had a very, very strict mom growing up. I think she might be in here watching. I don't know. But I had a very strict mom growing up. And growing up at the time, obviously, as a kid, you hate it, right? Because all your friends have all the freedom to do everything they want, and they don't have the strict mom that you have. But my mom was so strict, and she monitored everything I did online, like literally everything. Um, and at the time, obviously, I hated it and didn't understand it. But now I'm grateful for it. And I think now it's important because you don't know what information your kids are consuming. I know there's this new show, Adolescence, on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard it's really powerful and like really important to watch for our younger generation. But I think we do need to be more on top of what they're consuming on social media because they're not watching the news like we all are. They're getting all of their information online. So we need to make sure that who they follow is posting accurate information. And there are people like myself, Hen Mazik, that we spoke about before. There are so many great creators that are posting actual factual information and they have real sources that they're getting it from.
Certainly. And after this call, make sure that if you're not already, go follow Montana. She posts amazing educational videos and just positive messaging around it. And you reshare other creators that are sharing
Always.
similar messaging. So definitely go and follow Montana.
Thank
And
you.
and you know, I think that something that you said that was interesting was that when you stopped posting your dance videos or your more positive content, people were asking for it. And so striking that balance between posting the educational materials and, calling out for our hostages to be returned, but then also showing some brighter positive messaging. There, with such a large platform, you have a responsibility when you choose what and when to post. And so taking a conversation in a little bit of a different direction, there's obviously an ongoing war and devastation and trauma in Israel. And so I want to hear a little bit about your decision-making process when you're deciding what to post, where to post, on what platform, knowing that certain materials could be triggering or potentially upsetting to some of your audience.
I make sure I post on every single platform because I'm like, whoever is going to see this needs to see this. And so wherever I can reach them. So I'm posting on Instagram, on X, I just started, on LinkedIn, I just started, on TikTok. But unfortunately, TikTok, it's just a fact. And that's my biggest platform. I have 9.2 million followers solely on TikTok. They either delete my videos,
Mm-hmm.
report my videos.
Back band.
I've gotten strikes on my account where the same piece of content on Instagram will get 3 million views. And then I post it on Instagram and it'll get restricted. But there are some videos that have kicked in, so I won't give up because I know that's what they want. They want pro-Israel or Jewish creators to stop posting anything to do with being Jewish or Israel on there, but I will not stop. So we all can't stop. If you are posting on these apps, please don't stop because you never know when one video is going to kick through the algorithm or
Mm-hmm.
beat beat the people who are reporting it, whatever. So we got to keep posting. But yeah, every single platform is important. Like I never thought to use LinkedIn before, and now I'm posting on there, and I think it's really important. Because again, every industry, every age group needs to see this content, and I try to make my content viewable for everyone. Before October 7th, my following was like literally Gen Z. That's it. And now it's really cool to know that like parents are watching my content with their
Mm-hmm.
kids and they are sharing it with each other. And it's something for them to, be able to talk about. And also, like you said before, like we said before, like I was having a hard time combining my worlds. And now I've actually done a few things where I've combined it all. I actually did a dance video at the Nova Music Festival site.
It was so powerful.
Nova, thank you,
Mhm.
with Nova survivors. I did it with an Israeli dance group that lost 3 of their members at Nova. And then I had Nova survivors and a released hostage, Moran Stelly and I, who is beyond incredible. And, people went to that festival to dance, to listen to music. And I wanted to create a video because, again, I knew I had a big dance following and people that wanted to see dance and loved music. And so we did this video at the site, and you're watching it in the beginning and you think you're watching like a music video. It's filmed like very high quality. And then halfway through the video, you're hit with the reality of what happened at Nova, and it's heartbreaking and it's intense.
Mm-hmm.
But it grabbed people's attention. And that video went so viral. And if you read through the comments, you see there from people saying like, wow, I never saw it this way, or oh my gosh, I go to Coachella, or I go to, EDC, or I go to all these festivals. Like that could have been me. That could have been me, my friends. So that's why, I try to incorporate the arts whenever I can. And I have a new song coming out called We're Not Strangers that I'm actually performing the opening ceremony of Maccabea games in Israel. So if any of you on this call are going to be in Israel in July, please come to Maccabee game.
Amazing.
The opening ceremony with my new song, and the song is about bringing people together. Like we can pray to different saviors, but we're not strangers. And I know you're hurting, I'm hurting too. Like we need to feel for each other. So again, always I'm trying to portray my message in everything that I do.
I love that you're able to combine your different communities, but also your own talents. And I think that's something that, as our community wants to mobilize and get involved in this fight against anti Semitism and supporting Israel, something that's so vital is that everyone finds what is it that makes them spark joy, and how do you integrate that into this important and hard work.
And I think also, people say to me like, oh my gosh, thank you for what you're doing. You're doing so great, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, everyone is doing their part by
Mm-hmm.
people showing up to events, by you all waking up and being on this call with us, like you are doing your part. And however you are spreading the message and having conversations in your workplace, in your communities, like again, like you said before, you don't have to have the millions of followers to make an impact. Just having one simple conversation with a coworker, with a parent at school, with anyone that you have a conversation with, or you're sharing, or you're showing up to an event, or donating whenever you can. Like those are big things that I don't think we all realize, and you might not see the impact right away. But even having a conversation with someone, you'd be shocked about the messages that I get, because I do these videos in public all the time that make incredible videos, but I also have these really deep, important conversations with people. And you'd be shocked at the message. Like I'll get messages from them like months after I met them in person, and they're like, thank you so much for educating me on that. Like it's because of you I now researched more and I learned more. And so you never know like the impact you're going to make. So anytime you have the opportunity to speak about this, or to share something, or donate, or show up to an event, please do it, because it all makes a difference, I promise.
100%. And we're noticing that so many people are choosing to lean in. That's what's been most incredible over the past 18 months. It's just the sheer amount of people that are saying, I want to lean in, I want to do more, I want to repost, I want to share, I want to educate. And CJP has really been that place that the greater Boston community is able to join together and join forces. And we saw that through our Israel Emergency Fund. In less than 24 hours after the horrific October 7th attacks, families of those that were taken hostage came together to form the Hostage and Missing Families Forum. And CJP was one of the very first federations across the country that responded to their call, asking for funding in order to support the families for both psychological resources and funds to ensure that they're sharing their stories, their family members' stories. And we have just been so deeply inspired by the work that you're doing to amplify these voices. We spoke a little bit about the emerging work that you're doing, the new project that you're working on, and we just want share to our audience today, like what has that experience been like working closely with the hostages, the survivors, and their families to be able to share and amplify their voices.
From day one, speaking about the hostages has been the most important thing to me, and it still is after over a year and a half. I speak with the hostages every day. You have to give a voice to the voiceless. And a lot of these families, a lot of these hostages, like they were just normal people living their normal lives before October 7th. And I'm so grateful that I've met a lot of the release hostages and built relationships with them. I'm close with a lot of the hostage families. And that's why even if you haven't met them or had a relationship with them, anytime a hostage was returned, I think every single one of us on this call cried and was deeply invested in staying up late at night to watch them come home, or waking up early to watch them come home. And so like, I think that's something about the Jewish people. We're just all a big family, big mishpacha.
Mm-hmm.
And so when something happens to one of us, it happens to all of us. But I've done many different things with the hostages. I know we talk, everyone talks about a lot, this dress that I wore at the Grammys. And a little bit about that is I was asked to go to the Grammys, which I'm really,
We have an image on the screen.
and I was asked to go to the Grammys, and I've been in all these group chats of us trying to get people to wear the yellow pin at any of the award shows or any events. And it was very difficult to get people to simply wear a yellow pin. And so when I got asked to go to the Grammys as an artist, obviously like that's the biggest deal, to walk the red carpet, to attend it.
Biggest stage, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I knew no one was going to do anything. And so I contacted an Israeli designer out of LA. Her name is Ortal. Her brand is made by ILA, Israel and LA. And I gave her less than a week to create this dress with me. So at the time, she wasn't happy, but now I think she's happy. I said, I want to do something crazy and I want to make sure that no one can miss my message. And so we did this big yellow ribbon on my dress. I said, bring them home. I had my Magen David on and made sure no one missed it. And when I got there, I never get scared. I have performed in front of 300,000 people, no problem. But when I got onto that carpet, I was by myself, and it was a crazy moment. And I was like, okay, this is intense. This is scary. And took all the pictures, did the whole thing, and then afterwards, I just got there, walked onto the carpet, and then somebody from the recording academy came up to me, and they're like, okay, did you get all your content? Did you finish? And I was like, no, you had my purse. I just got here. And they're like, okay, well, comms called and they're very disappointed in your dress. And they said that
Wow.
the dress is too political and we don't do politics at the Grammys. And I said, that's interesting. Are you aware of what this ribbon stands for? It's actually not political at all. And you could tell this girl was just relaying the message. And she's like, well, is it possible for you to remove the ribbon? And I was like, no, it is not possible for me to remove the ribbon. And even if it was, I wouldn't take it off. Absolutely not. And she's like, all right, well, you can go back out there. But unfortunately, the Recording Academy is not going to be able to share any of your content. I was like, wow.
Wow.
And 2 minutes later, Harvey Mason Jr., who is the head of the entire Recording Academy, came up to me and said, wow, thank you for wearing that dress. That is amazing. Can we take a photo? So we took a photo. It was all over. And then he gave, I don't know if any of you watched the Grammys. This wasn't this year, last year. He gave an amazing speech, and he had a Palestinian and Israeli orchestra playing together. And it was beautiful. And it's interesting. Usually when I go to these events, I'll post like behind the scenes photos or show me getting ready. And I didn't do any of that. And when I sat down in my seat and I pulled out my phone, it was like blowing up, and the photos were everywhere already. And it was a crazy situation. And two things meant the most for me from that. This was back in January February of 24. So it was only a few months after October 7th. So I already built a lot of like close relationships with hostage families. And the message I got from the hostage families saying, thank you so much for wearing this dress and for doing this. And finally, we feel like someone's speaking for us outside of the echo chamber and on a big platform. And then little girls for Purim last year and this year made their own dresses, their own
Oh
break
my
dresses,
goodness. That's
and wore it for Purim.
amazing.
And if you would have asked me
Wow.
like years ago if I thought anyone ever dress up like me for Purim, I would have said absolutely not. So to me, to have it inspire a younger generation, and also just the Jewish community around the world, the messages I receive from them, we talk about all the hate that you get all the time, right? But we don't talk about the positivity as much. I think it's so important because with all the hate, with all the death threats, with all the loss of followers, the amount of good that has come from the work that I've done, and for me too, personally, like every time someone comes up to me in person that I meet or writes me a nice message online, it means the world to me. And I'm so, so grateful. Like anytime someone comes up to me in person and says, like, I just want to thank you. I'm like, can I give you a hug? Because I truly am so grateful, because it does come with so much negativity, but any positivity I'm so grateful for. And we're all in this together. And it's we have to remember that, and we have to remember we're all doing our part. And so I'm really grateful for any love and for any support, and anytime I have the opportunity to speak about Israel, to stand for the hostages, I do it. I would like to mention, if I can, about my new documentary coming out.
Yes, yes, we're
um,
so excited.
I've done a lot of amazing works in my life, but this is the most important thing I've ever done. I just shared yesterday and posted yesterday. I have a new documentary called The Children of October 7th that is going to be premiering and coming out on Paramount Plus and MTV on April 23rd, which is Yom HaShoah. In my documentary, I interviewed kids ages 11 to 17 that were either taken hostage or were, witnessed Hamas murder their parents right in front of them, or their sister right in front of them, or their fathers were taken hostage. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. But the most important. And I've posted small clips already on my social media that have made a huge impact with over 30 million views across platform just on these small clips. And I really believe our younger generation needs to see it. So everyone on this call, please make sure you have your kids watch this documentary when it comes out April 23rd, because it truly is the most important thing we can do for our younger generation to watch this. And they all are going to relate to it because everything in the documentary is told directly from these children of what happened to them. And I interviewed them a year after October 7th. So to see the trauma that they still are living through, but also to see the resilience in them, I think is something so important. And I wanted to break down in every interview, but to see the strength in their eyes, it kept me going and it keeps me going every single day. And I promised them that I would make sure that the world hears and sees their testimonies. And I'm so grateful to Paramount Plus and MTV that they picked it up and believed in this project. And I really hope you all watch it and have your kids and the younger generation watch it as well, because it's very, very important.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for all the work that you've done to amplify these voices. Anyone that has been either on a CJP solidarity mission to Israel or anyone that has been in Israel since October 7th, that's the key message that so many of these families are asking us to share, is to bring them home. And so for you to quite literally wear that on one of the biggest stages in pop culture just goes to show that you've really honed in on making that message very clear and very strong. Were there any other key messages that some of these families shared or that we can expect to hear during the documentary?
I think it's just like everyone wanting peace and love, and also hearing about their lives from before October 7th, and how their lives are going to continue to be. And we have to remember that these are children. And I think it's something that's not talked about a lot in the media and even on social media. You don't hear about the Israeli children kind of ever. There's a lot of noise and there's so many moving parts in this conflict, in this war, and so much is getting misconstrued or misunderstood and whatever. But I feel like we haven't heard enough from the children. And I can share two small, stories that I heard. One is from a girl, Yael Idan, that's who I interviewed. And Yael Idan, 12 years old, and her family's story is pretty well known because Hamas took the mother's cell phone and started a live stream on the mom's Facebook of everything they were doing to this family. So hers is probably one of the most heartbreaking because you see everything in real time. And then her father, Sahi Idan, was taken hostage, and the Hamas person that was there told her that he would bring him back to her. And after he murdered her sister right in front of her. And he takes the father hostage. There was proof of life in captivity, and then he was murdered in captivity. And his body was one of the recent bodies that was released. One of the other fathers of two of the kids, Eitan and Yael Yahalomi. Eitan was also taken hostage for 54 days. I interviewed him, and his father, Ohad Yahalomi, was still a hostage. There was proof of life, and his body was also just returned. And when we filmed this documentary, they were still alive, or we thought they were still alive because there was proof of life. So in the interviews, you hear hope and you hear all of this, and it's heartbreaking. At the end, we had to change the ending because now they're not here. And even the Bebas kids also we speak about, and they were, presumed alive at the time. So it's really sad. It's really heartbreaking, but it's so important, and we need everybody to hear their stories, hear their testimonies. We think about the Shoah Foundation, right? And all the testimonies we've heard from Holocaust survivors. These are our modern day survivors, and we need to make sure their testimonies are amplified and heard around the world.
It's another instance where you're just showing your bravery, and to have your voice so forward in this conversation, it's just so vital. that were speaking out and using and showing different voices. Another space that I saw your voice and that you were featured in is the October 8th documentary, which they showed at the ADL conference a couple weeks ago that we were at together, and then now is in movie theaters. And that was another instance where, as they were in production of it, there was messages of hope, and everything is unraveling in real time. And so that's got to be very difficult for you to look back on some of that footage and now ultimately know how the story
Oh yeah,
unfolds.
to do the re-edit for the ending was
Mhm.
so heartbreaking. And also for these kids, it's like,
Right.
oh, when I found out the news, it's like you don't know what to say because I speak to them and to
Mm.
and to their family members. You can't even imagine. You just can't even imagine. And that's why I wanted to do everything I could to make sure that their voices were amplified. They don't have such big social media platforms to get their stories out there and their testimonies out there. And that's why I feel like it's all of our duties to do it.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And transitioning just to bring us to a brighter, joyful
Yes.
message. This feels like we're in ongoing dark times. I think that every single day when we watch the news, when we reach out to our friends and loved ones in Israel, it just feels like we're living in such dark moments in our Jewish community's history and Israel's history. So how do you encourage those that are on our call today to hold on to Jewish joy and Jewish pride? I think that's something that you and I, we've really instilled in our everyday beings, but how do you encourage everyone to be able to do the same?
So I think you have to think about the history of Jews. Okay. And from the beginning of time that Jews existed on this planet, there have been people always trying to diminish us and kick us off planet Earth, right? But what happens every single time? We prevail, we come out stronger, amazing things come from it. So
We
in the
don't just
darkest
survive, we thrive.
we thrive, exactly.
Mhm.
Well, you know what's funny? I just did a video with Gloria Gaynor. I don't know if you saw it on my social media, but Gloria Gaynor sings I Will Survive, the
Yeah.
iconic song I Will Survive. And actually, fun fact in case anyone on here did not see my story or not see my post, Gloria has been to over 90 countries. She said Israel is her favorite country she's ever been to. She is a Black Christian woman. Okay. Israel's her favorite country she's ever been to. She sang in Hebrew for former Prime Minister Shimon Peres. And
Wow.
she actually, I don't know if you can see on my necklace here, it says Montana in Hebrew. She gave this necklace to me as a gift for my first time meeting her. And she messaged me on
So
social media to tell
special.
me that she loved everything that I was doing. And so we did this whole video to I Will Survive. And in the video, I say like that's why the song means so much to the people of Israel and to Jewish people, because no matter what we've been through, we will survive. And she said, and thrive. So that's like her whole thing is
Amazing.
to
There
say,
we go.
not just survive, but thrive. So I had to share that story because that reminded me. But it's so true that no matter what we've gone through, I refer to my grandparents a lot, but I think about, listen, they went through the darkest of times. My
Mm-hmm.
grandmother was 13 when she was sent to Auschwitz and when she witnessed her mother get beaten to almost her death before dragging her to the gas chambers. How can you live your life after that? How could you come out from such darkness and then come to America with nothing and build such a beautiful life? Both my grandparents were survivors. Like, how do you do that, right? And she has both my grandparents had so much love inside of them. They instilled in my mother, who instilled in me, that you treat people for their kind hearts and good souls, not for their race, religion, sexual orientation. And so that's how I've always lived my life. And I think just the Jewish people in general, no matter what we've gone through, we always survive and we always thrive. And I know that's going to happen. And even already, like, I don't know about you, but I have never seen so much Jewish pride and unity in my life personally.
Right.
Of course, we need more. We can always have more, but I mean, the amount of organizations that are out there, the amount of events, like right after October 7th, immediately every community was trying to gather, like you even talked about, CJP, all of you were doing as much as you could to help Israel and to help the Jewish people and continue to do so. So that's just who we are. It's in our blood. And through the darkest of times, we will always come out of them and always shine our light and be brighter than all the darkness. and it's already happening. And when this is all over, I know we're going to look back, and that's why it's important to do everything we can, because we will look back on this moment and say, I did everything that I could to combat anti-Semitism, to stand for Israel, and to make a difference. And that's the Jewish community in general. We always do it.
I love that point that you made at the end, that we want to look back on this moment in time and say that we did everything that we could to fight anti-Semitism, to support Israel, to make our community stronger. That was something that from the very beginning, since, we really had that choice to, do we lean into the Jewish community or do we hide our Jewish identity? Being able to say, I don't want to make any choice that won't ensure that I can look back on this moment in time and say, I did everything I can. And I know that so many of you watching and joining in our conversation today feel similarly, that we wanted to make sure that we can't look back on this moment in time and not feel like we didn't do everything to ensure that the Jewish community not only continues to survive, but we truly
Right.
do for
And and
generations to
and,
come.
and, and honestly, if you think about, back to the Holocaust, like, it didn't matter how rich you were, how successful you were, how famous you were. If you were Jewish at that time, you had no voice. It didn't matter. But nowadays, we all have voices. We all have voices, and we have to use them in any way that we can. We have to. It's our responsibility for our ancestors, for our current generation, and for our future generations. We have to. This is the most crucial time, and we have to do everything that we can. To me, there's no other option for all of us.
And that leads perfectly into just some of my closing thoughts for today's conversation. So, as I was preparing, I was thinking about your activism journey, which is something that I very much relate to. And I think that many of those that are joining us today would relate to as well. Before 10/7, we were individuals who happened to be Jewish that had social media platforms. Whether you have millions of followers, 14 plus million followers, or, the 14 friends on your Facebook account.
Mhm.
But since 10/7, we have all become Jewish social media activists, whether we plan to or not. And why is that? It's not that we're necessarily trying to go viral. It's not that we're trying to grow platforms, but it's our responsibility. It's our shared responsibility to
Yeah.
ensure that we're utilizing our platforms and using our voice to be able to say, we are doing everything we can to ensure that the Jewish community and Israel survives.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I say it doesn't matter if you have the followers. You can impact one person, that will make a difference. And you don't know the spiral effect. You impact that one person, and they're going to go tell their friend or tell their family members, and it really makes a difference. So please, whether, like you said, whether you have 14 Facebook friends, I like that one. I'm going to start using that one. Whether you have 14 Facebook friends or 14 million, every post that you share makes a difference. It also helps, like, if you're sharing someone's content like mine, you sharing that makes a big difference for me too, because that helps the algorithm say, oh, people are sharing this, we should push
Completely.
this out more. So it really does make a difference. And not just me, please share all the pro-Israel content that you can, that you believe in. Obviously, only share what you believe in, but it really all makes a difference. So, and if you are following me already, thank you so much, because really your support means a lot. And I just hope we're all in this together. And this is, I know it's been a really rough year and a half for all of us in different ways, but like I said, we're gonna prevail. We're gonna come out stronger, and I believe we're already getting there. So we got to wait till, of course, all the hostages come home first and foremost. I hope, next time you do one of these calls, I hope all the hostages will be back and real change is made. And we keep pushing forward.
Thank you, Montana, so much
Thank
for all the
you.
work that you're doing and just for being such a bright light, not only within our Jewish community, but in the world. It's so important that we're having strong Jewish voices out there and educating and just shining your bright light. So thank you so much. This really did feel like, I feel
I
like we were
know.
like
Thank you
drinking
all for
coffee and
joining our
FaceTiming. Yeah.
FaceTime, our
A FaceTime with
5:30,
friends.
6:30, 8:30, 9:30 a.m. FaceTime. Thank you,
Maybe we'll
guys.
do this like weekly.
Good
Everyone can
start to
join
your
our FaceTime
morning.
calls. But thank you
Yay.
so much. This
No,
was
you're
so,
amazing. You're amazing. And
so
thank you for everything
wonderful.
you do, by the way, also. You are incredible. And thank you to CJP and everyone that put this on. And again, I wish I could see everybody in here attended, but thank you guys for attending. And if you have any questions, of course, please message me on social media. I always check my DMs. And please make sure you watch The Children of October 7th, April 23rd on Paramount.
and we will be sharing it widely. So everyone in Boston will be tuning in. But thank you again, Montana, for joining us this morning, but also doing this important work. And you're inspiring so many people across generations. So we're so appreciative for your friendship and your advocacy.
Always.
As Melissa shared earlier in the call, CJP is committed to offering conversations like this, conversation among friends, bold conversations. So please be sure to join us for future conversations so you can hear various viewpoints and allow ourselves to learn more about ourselves, but also the community in which we live. And we want to hear from you. So a survey will pop up after our call. Please fill it out. We want to hear what you liked about today's call and who you want to hear from in the future. So please be sure to fill out that survey for us. It will help us shape future events for our CJP community. And thank you all so much for the important work you're doing, for adding your voice to this important conversation, and overall for ensuring that you're showing your Jewish pride on the digital space, in the digital space, and in real life. So thank you all so much. We wish you all a peaceful Shabbat, and we are praying, as Montana said, for the safe return of every hostage.
Amen. Thank you. Bye.